Good evening everyone and welcome to day 3 of the 40 Days of Hope. I hope you enjoyed reading about the birth of Jesus Christ yesterday. I know it's a story that we can often hear, but the beauty about the Bible is the same story, we can be given new insights into it all of the time. And just Christmas gone past there, I just felt really touched whenever I read about the shepherds. You know, whenever I've got good news to tell, I always want to tell someone that's really going to appreciate it, you know, someone that's close and important to me. And God chose the shepherds, and at the time, from my little research that I've done, I believe that the shepherds were the lowest in society at that time. You know, they weren't wealthy, they weren't educated, they didn't have influence in society. And I just think that speaks to us about what's important to God, and that He chose them to witness that. I'm sure they felt very unworthy, but very honoured. Yeah, you won't have to hear from me from too long today. I've got one of my dear friends, Danny Perry, sharing a little story with you today. And this story is just a hope that we can come to God first with our problems. Danny is not advocating that we come to God and then passively wait for things to happen, but his story, I think, just teaches us that God wants us to come to Him first and to rely on Him. Danny said I could give you a little bit about his background. So Danny, growing up, suffered awful abuse by someone who he should have been able to trust the most. He ended up in care, but he said the damage was done, and he was on the streets for 17 years of his life. He ended up in a church meeting one evening. He said he was hoping he'd get a packet of fags at the end of it, but God really touched him that evening. He now lives in a flat nearby, and Danny is one of the most generous people I know. He's always given little gifts to people just to let them know that he's been thinking of them and that he really values them. So I'm really excited that you'll get to meet my friend Danny Perry. Thank you.
Right, so one of my friends was getting married, called David Dawood. He was getting married in Chipstead in Surrey, and I got an invite. And I don't have any transport, and I didn't have the money to get there, so after stressing about it for a while, I negotiated with David for another friend, Tom McGregor, to come to the wedding with me because he had a car. So we agreed on that, and a couple of days later I was in Costas in Folkestone, and one of my mates, I was telling my mate about it, and he said, why don't you just ask the Lord for the money? And I thought about it, and I thought to myself, well, yeah, all right. So I prayed about it, and I asked, Lord, I need the money to go to this wedding. Forgot about it. And then nothing really happened, and then on the day of the wedding, I was in bed and the post came, and it was 2 white letters and a brown letter. And I thought, Bill, government letter, turned over and went back to sleep. And then when I eventually got up, I got ready for the wedding, polished my shoes, put my suit on, and I opened the post, and it was 2 bills and a letter from the government with a cheque in it for £165.50. So I thought to myself, I can get this, I can get that, I can do whatever. And I went to the post office and I cashed the cheque, and as I came out of the post office, there was a taxi parked up. And I remembered my prayer, so I asked him, how much would it cost for a taxi from here to Chipstead in Surrey, which is where the wedding was? And he said he'd have to check, and he went off to check. And it would have cost between £165 and £165.50. And that's when I realised that even though I'd made arrangements to cover my own need, if I'd have relied on God, He would have sorted it out anyway, which He did.